This is Andreas Pop Culture Guy. Today we have a latest Andreas Pop Culture retrospective slash review. Continuing the Halloween season, I've been reviewing a couple of Halloween horror interesting kind of reviews. If you've seen my two of Chucky films, The Bride and The Curse of past week, today and of course Halloween, I'm going to review The Dead Zone first 40th anniversary and of course, the 25th anniversary of Blade, the first Marvel success blockbuster. Anyway, here we go. 25 years ago, on August 21st, 1998, I know we're not in August, but anyway, the superhero cinema age has begun with Wesley Snipes' Black vampire superhero film Blade. Marvel could go on to create a slew of stunning popular and interconnected movies, than in case the MCU, featuring violent, gritty martial arts, grotesque horror and special effects, and protagonists, and uncomfortable incest themes. That's right. Or maybe that didn't exactly happen. Quarters century on, rewatching Blade, what's most striking about it is how utterly divorced it is from the tone, themes, and approach of the more recent Marvel movies that come after it, like X-Men, Spider-Man, and the MCU films to follow. And in between all of that, Marvel's first ever box office success is a bloody, violent, rated R, action-packed thriller ride loaded with sword fighting and vampire heads exploding that went by the title Blade. Now, Wesley Snipes' 30th film is never overlooked, but it oftentimes needs to be reminded of its impact of the comic book adaptations, especially with the brand new version of the character being introduced into the MCU in a few years soon. Now, the film turns 25 this year, and it's time to look back on how special the film is and how Blade is sort of the start of something then is a role infinitely not taken. A super flight where super flyer refused to leap into the sky and instead insisted on heading for some dark things to riff with awareness. If I hope everyone understands that part. Anyway, the non-MCU-ness of Blade begins at the concept. Now, or it's actually the most MCU of the Marvel, because Blade is an unknown character. That's something that is successful for the more recent MCU projects like Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Shang-Chi, or the Avengers. So it's actually a blueprint for the MCU in general. Because Blade, the character, was created by Mark Wolfman and Gene Colan in 1973 as a big player in not specifically a well-known horror title, The Tomb of Dracula. He was he was substantively reworked for the film by the writer David S. Goyer, famed for the Dark Knight trilogy and Man of Steel scripts, and director Stephen Norrington, a great director who sadly retired after the somewhat underrated or maybe mess of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, with a little protest from the fandom that was not the main audience for the film. Anyway, well, in any case, where he still wasn't a horror pulp slash exploitation B movie, by the way, rarely explored by his successors. In this version, Blade is a child born to a woman who herself has this distempered vampire bit. When he grows up as a vampire, lust for blood is strength and healing, but no weaknesses to garlic, silver, or sunlight. He creates a formula to keep the bloodlust at bay with the help of his trusty assistant whistler, played by Kristofferson. He dedicated himself to killing the vampires. Now, the great thing about Blade is that you don't need to be infatuated with the comics to know all that much about him. A lot of the average moviegoers in 1998 probably didn't know much about him, or including myself. I didn't know about this character. This movie is the introduction of this character, which makes him a perfect character for Marvel to let run loose on screen. Of course, as I mentioned before, it's written by David S. Goyer and directed by Stephen Norrington. Blade is a man that is a man of creatures of the night called a Daywalker. He's on the hunt to take down those who are like him, prey on us. What's really about this film is that it's the origin story, but he never really feels like one. We learn Blade's backstory and how his mother died from the fight wound while she was giving birth to him. It's quick but efficient, but it never overstates its fault, which is good. The movie sets about with that vampire killings almost immediately. Superhero films these days generally spend a lot of narrative introducing the characters before they get the powers, or the opposite of that. They introduce the characters that already get the powers. Now, the moment which Blade is in that instance, the moment when our hero builds the armor or gets injected with super soldier serum, or first leaps across the rooftops has a big buildup complete with soaring music to single self actualization. Now, Wesley Snipes Blade is a accomplished Blade's actor Wesley Snipes is a accomplished martial arts who enjoys doing his own stunts, and his leather clad sunglasses wearing impassive Blade is it's constantly cool as he blasts, slash, and high kicks his way through endless supply of helpless stuntmen, which whom uh, as they deliberately expose a shower of skeleton fragments and sparks when they are just dispatched thanks to the charmingly CGI effects. The effects are obviously inspired by the Hong Kong cinema that was booming during the late 80s to the 1990s. And you feel very sweet swamp, black blood bold like it's a far cry from the slick quasi-animation computer graphics era style of the MCU films. Blaze off the self plot is more familiar. A upstart maniacal vampire dude yes, dude named Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, is trying to bring about some sort of ill-defined vampire apocalypse using Blade's magical Daywalker blood. But since Blade doesn't have to set up a slew of franchise plot points or launch other superheroes for other films, it could treat its narrative scuffling as background and focus more on those outside fight scenes and other sort of set pieces, which it does, and to great effect. There's a marvelous chase scene in a subway tunnel with lights from the passing trains and turning the fights and stunts into surreal, expression stroke. There's the squeaky, almost offhand revelation that Blade's mother Vanessa didn't die and is now a truly admiral vampire mass murderer with maybe a unmarvelly decides on her son. There's a blood drinking conversation, consummation of the Blaze will they one day in relation with the hematologist Karen Jenson, played by N. Bushett Wright. Now, what I like about Blade is that Blade doesn't go heavy on the plot, which is good. It lowers itself on the on the kind of high arctic action of the late 1990s during that time that could bleed into the new millennium. It has unforgettable brutal fight scenes loaded with stunts that Wesley Snipes did most of himself. Yet, Blade isn't empty of substance. There's a great dynamic between him and his partner, Whistler, who makes the weapons, and is a father-son dynamic. The two feel and look like opposites, but seem to, in the end, work as a one whole unit. There is a role in the film that is there for us. The audience is the role of the hematologist Karen Jenson, the doctor that Blade saves in the film. He saves her because she reminds him of his mother. Thus, this leads us to understand Blade's sensitive side. On paper, the connection to losing his mother seems cliche, even silly, but it comes full circle and is impactful in the third act of the first film, when we learn Blade's mother is still alive, of course. This sensitive side of the film doesn't hurt the film. It has the women of the Blade franchise are attractive, but never meant to serve the story as a love interest, which is always impressive to me. Out of all these superhero franchises, I think Blade never incorporates the female characters as love interests, but instead allies to Blade and Kris, varying from the point of Blade of his humanity / vampire side. And of course, And that's a really intriguing thing, and I really like that. And I wish superhero films take some examples from the first two Blade movies. Blade is a hyper-focused man on a mission. His arc feels like something of a samurai. There isn't any time for him to fall in love, which in return makes the women in the Blade films more realistic and not a recycled Benson stretch, which is awesome. Blade is also a beautiful film to look at. There are two sides to it. It has a upscale, futuristic looking side to the vampire world, matched with the dingy streets of downtown Los Angeles. There's a atmosphere in it that feels hyper cinematic, but never unrealistic. Its visual style is incredible and can still compete with the green screen slash soundstage effects of the modern age film. What I see in the superhero films today as well. Now, the bright colors of the film pop, which is good, and it's colored with cold blue tone, almost like the James Cameron films. There are also so many great shots in the movie that mimic the sweeping visuals we see in the pages of comics. There's energy and pacing that never lets up. It's kinetic and always on the move, from chasing to fight scene, loaded with special effects and practical as well. As exploring throat speed ripple, sword fights, gun fights, MMA style fights in the scene after scene. We really need a cigarette when the credits roll. When the credits roll. Regardless, in the late 90s were a dark time commercially and financially for Marvel. This explains why they went all out with Blade as a movie. Produced for 48 billion dollars. Its box office return was little over triple its budget, which is great, which makes it the first successful Marvel character at the box office. Now, 2018's Black Panther will get credit for being Marvel's first black superhero film adaptation, and then vice versa, Deadpool will get the recognition of being the first regular Marvel superhero adaptation. But respectively from both of those films, Blade was there. It was actually the first of both to do that. Blade was both of those. It was here before the shared universe and post-credit scenes. And before it, Marvel characters were in B-movies on the big screen. It was the material handling. It was the material handled with care. So the next time you get into argument over Marvel films sticking to their formula, though, and not taking any risks, refer to this 25-year-old gamble of the film called Blade. Everyone, happy 25th anniversary for Blade. Happy Halloween. If this is going to be posted around this time. But I hope you guys enjoyed this very in-depth discussion on Blade, the 1998 film starring Wesley Snipes and directed by Stephen Norrington, written by David S. Goyer. And have a good weekend, guys. Ciao.